actually took I took a picture with him in the sideboard, and he had a dragon mask that's actually kind of on the table a little bit that you can see.
Yeah.
I thought he would be wearing it, however.
Well, he had it on his. It wasn't covering his face, but when we cut to him last round, he did have it on his head.
Okay, there we go.
And we had to make sure that we got a little clarification as to what was going on with that headgear. But
I had the honor of actually wearing that a few minutes ago.
Nice.
And by wearing it, I mean I have a very big head and it barely fit.
Okay. So you just wore a dragon helmet hat.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually difficult to breathe, among other things, but I made it work.
Yeah.
We'll start here with a Temple of Plenty in round number 9 of, 11. Our largest non-invitational standard open of all time is here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, 11 rounders, they're the new normal, honestly.
They're starting to be the new normal. Yeah. We're always right on the cusp of 11 rounds nowadays in the Open Series. It's crazy to even think about.
So Brandon Wallace gets on the board with that Dryad Milden. Now these Naya decks have a lot of tap lands for an aggro deck.
Yep.
So they have 8 1-drops. They don't always get to 1-drop them.
Now, I know this is a deck you're pretty familiar with. I know this is kind of like Brad Nelson's Brave Naya deck. Not the exact same, but maybe the same thought process.
His main deck, I believe, is Brad's list. With the exception of he has changed 2 Lockstone Smiters to 2 Brimas King of Erexos.
Okay.
Other than that, it's Brad's list.
Bioblight in response to the Voice of Resurgence is going to take that down, make sure that Wallace does not get a token. Does not have a third land, however, just has the Voice, pass the turn back over to Edgar, who's playing just, stock, boring old Mono Black Devotion, going to tap 3 lands, play what looks like a Nightveil Spectre, does have 4 of those, not taking the Lifebane Zombie approach, which would be very good in this particular matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked a bit about this a little with Matthias. Texas likes to attack.
Yes.
This is a very aggressive metagame.
Yes.
And Lifebane Zombie has kind of been taking the center stage over Nightveil Spectre worldwide. But in particular, I think it would have been an excellent call here. So it's kind of interesting to see one of the 3 players who have made it to 8-0 taking the Nightveil path.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised too. Again, if you've ever done a show here, I know this is your first one in Dallas, but I've done a couple of these here. We've seen decks like Naya show up a lot here, and people just generally do like to attack. You're not going to come here and really find a lot of revelations being cast, and we haven't seen a lot of those at the top tables this weekend.
Nope.
I know Dave Thomas actually, he was dispatched. He was playing Esper, and he's one of the name players actually playing the deck. As here's a Desecration Demon off of Plains off the top of Wallace's deck.
Yeah, this looking at the board, you might be like, oh, okay, this is Black-White mid-range. No, that Plains borrowed, as it were.
17 Swamps, 4 Mutavaults, 4 Temple of Deceits in Edgar's deck list. So, again, pretty stock stuff, nothing crazy going on. He does have 1 main deck, Veribos, but a lot of the cards here are 4-ofs and a couple singletons. So this is just pretty normal stuff as Desecration Demon triggers going to be placed on the stack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael hit that Plains off of Nightveil Spectre, and it helped him cast his spell, but actually taking the land away from Brandon Wallace was pretty big here.
Yeah, it's probably the more important part here, as Wallace is a little bottlenecked on mana right now. He actually has things that he can do, because he has like a Gorkon Rampager, he has a couple Charms in his hand, so he actually has things that he can do. He's going to try to force through some damage right now. Going to Blood Rush the Rampager onto the Voice of Resurgence, going to allow him to deal 6 points of damage over to Edgar. But Desecration Demon, this is the kind of game where it really shines.
Yeah, it does. Michael being at 12 puts him in a spot where Brandon can actually kind of chain together some range to steal this game. It's going to look like a steal, really, because Michael Edgar is well ahead on board.
Yeah.
But those 2 Boros Charms, Michael Edgar's at virtual 4 here.
Yep.
And with Voice of Resurgence on board, actually being able to push through Desecration Demon is not that hard.
That's true. I mean, he can obviously sacrifice the Voice, tap it down. He gets an Elemental token, so that's exactly what's going to happen. Desto's going to become a 7/7. He'll get an Elemental token in just a moment here. The problem here is that, 1, Edgar has something to attack with Nightveil Spectre, and 2, it's not like his hand is all lands.
No.
He has things that he can actually do in the meantime. And there's a Temple of Plenty gets turned over. Another land that does get stolen.
That one... Okay.
Doesn't come directly into play.
Yeah, so Brandon just plopped it into play, and I was like, well, if that's in play, we need to tap it.
Temple of Plenty got really good. It comes into play untapped, too.
Right, yeah.
That's a nice card.
Yeah.
Here's a Grey Merchant. This is actually a nice card that comes into play untapped. That's going to be a drain and gain for 7. Wallace is going to go down to 9. Edgar going to go to a pretty healthy 19 now.
Yeah, 7's a lot. We were just saying that Brandon Wallace's best chance was kind of nickel and dime him with range, forcing through damage where he could. That extra 7 life buffer is going to be huge there.
Yeah, and the thing about Mono Black Devotion, too, is that it's not very forgiving. You know, if you stumble and fumble around, it's a deck that can close out the game pretty quickly or just get you in a situation where you can't really come back. You have to really bum rush this deck, especially with a deck like Naya Aggro. It's tough to go toe-to-toe. I mean, like, take a look at that card, for example, Bramaz, which is obviously a very good Magic card. But, you know, how good is that in this current situation? The answer is really not very.
Yeah, it doesn't do a ton. It does... Yeah, that's interesting. Like, we had a Voice of Resurgence die, actually.
Yeah, it should be. The token should be coming in just a sec.
So do you think did we miss it, or are we figuring it out now, or?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I would be surprised if he did miss it. I mean, he sacrificed the Voice of Resurgence with the intention of getting the Elemental token, and I believe he did say something along the lines of, I would like the token. Maybe he did miss the trigger.
Yeah, it's a possibility that there's actually some discussion about whether or not he acknowledged it. Sometimes there's kind of a vocal acknowledgement, and then that's not heard. So yeah, it's you have to be very clear about that kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's possible that Brandon just kind of brushed through it.
Much of the same vein that you have to be very clear about Desecration Demon and its trigger on every turn too, as there have been a lot of problems with that particular card, and it looks like the official ruling there was that he actually did miss the trigger for the voice token. So.
Yeah, I suspected that was going to be the ruling after we caught that shot of Brandon's face. He did not look happy with the conversation he was having with
I
that
wouldn't
judge.
be either, as here's an attack for 4. Wallace is going to go down to 3. To be fair, he's probably in a world of trouble anyway. Not to say, you know, he shouldn't be upset, because, you know, there's a reason to be upset, but I don't think that's really going to come back to hurt him, as I don't think he's going to be winning this game in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. This was had kind of snowballed out of control for him.
Once Edgar went up to 19.
Yes.
I think that's when things really did get out of reach here, and he could have actually gone up to even a higher life total because he has a Whip of Erebos in his hand, just a 1-of in his deck yet again.
Yep. You can beat Grey Merchant just by getting out on the board and making sure you're turning your guy sideways every turn and pushing through damage.
Yep.
Ren didn't really do that, and Grey Merchant was a bigger swing than he can handle, I think.
A third copy of Boros Charm added to the grip, but none of those are going to matter, and Brandon Wallace will concede the game to Michael Edgar. So Edgar with Mono Black Devotion does win game number 1. This is not the first time, again, that we have seen this deck do its thing. And we'll head over to the sideboards now, where you are familiar with Naya Aggro strategies, so I'll let you take it away here with Wallace's options.
Yeah, so Brandon Wallace has access to 2 Mizium Mortars, 3 Unflinching Courage, 2 Domri Raid, 1 of Johnny Caller of the Pride, 2 Destructive Revelry, 3 Mistcutter Hydra, and 2 Skylasher. So I don't expect him to board much here. In this matchup, have been bringing in Mizium Mortars. They give you a lot of good targets, and as I've mentioned, really what you need to do in this matchup is stick your threats and then make sure you get to turn them sideways every round.
Sure.
Now you can do that by having combat tricks, having Gorkland Rampage or Selesnya Charms to push through blockers, or you can just do that by getting the blocker out of the way.
Sure.
So Mizium Mortars would be able to clear a Grey Merchant, a Pack Rat, a Lifebane Zombie, a Night Veil Spectre, just whatever. It's really just a matter of trading card for card and clearing out the thing that Michael Edgar does on turn 3.
Okay.
Other than that, maybe he wants Domri Raid. I wasn't playing that card, so I'm not really sure where it fits here. I kind of feel like it is not worth the trouble. Again, you just want to get pressure, and Domri Raid is not pressure. Domri Raid is gas, and that's not the bottleneck here.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has enough cards to actually try to get the job done. You know, the difficult thing here for the Niagara deck is, you know, we saw in game number 1 where he led off with a Temple and then played a Temple. That doesn't allow for a very fast start.
Yes.
Now, obviously, Temples are quite powerful, allowing you to scry and, of course, fix your mana. But when you're playing in this particular matchup, I don't think you have a lot of time to do those things. Right. I think you just have to get to the board quickly. With even something as kind of minuscule as a Dryad Militant, it at least gets the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more important that you get your threats into play than it is to over time acquire some extra threats.
Now, of course, there will be times where those Scrylands are really important to try to find a card like Brave the Elements to push through damage, or Boros Charm to be able to finish the game off. But I think at the beginning of the game, for Wallace, that Temple of Plenty needs to actually be a Temple Garden.
Yes.
and get to work that way. Taking a look at Edgar's sideboard here, there's very obvious cards that's going to come in. 3 copies of Lifebane Zombie, so things look like they're going to go from bad to worse here. We can see a pretty natural swap of Lifebane Zombie in for Nightveil Spectre. There are 4 copies of Duress, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, 2 Freakus Cure, 2 Dark Betrayal, and then 2 copies of Doomblade. So 5 easy cards to bring in this matchup. You can make an argument for Freakus Cure here. And cards that you want to take out, I think it's easy to start with the 4 copies of Underworld Connections and then probably remove the Nightveil Spectres after that.
After that, you don't. How many are we trying to bring in?
Well, I think I think he's going to bring in 5. I think he's going to bring in 3 Lifebanes and 2 Doomblades. I don't think he has time to actually set up Underworld Connections, especially when he's on the draw. And I guess the other card could just be Whip of Erebos that comes out. But that's the kind of card that can actually kind of swing the game back the other way if something kind of breaks the right way.
Yeah.
The question right now is, does he want to actually have 7 3-drop creatures along with 4 copies of Hero's Downfall? That's a lot of stuff in 3 mana.
Yeah, he could cut a Nightveil Spectre, just trim 1. He could also trim some Thought Seizes.
Yeah, I guess worse on the draw, I suppose.
They're worse on the draw. They're not good after you have traded your cards for your opponent's cards and you're both playing off the top.
Sure.
He's looking to stabilize.
Sure.
So he, in theory, is going to cast all of his cards and then play off the top at a certain point. Particularly since he will not have Underworld Connections, presumably.
Okay.
So when you're just working with your draw step, you will eventually run out of things to do, and then you need your top card not to be Thoughtseize.
That's oftentimes how Thoughtseize works, and we're kind of in a mid-rangey matchup. It is a little more aggressive on the Naya aggro side,
right.
And Thoughtseize is actually kind of at its worst in mid-range matchups. Excuse me, after like turn 3 or 4.
Yeah, and you said this is a mid-range matchup. It's not intended to be. Brandon Wallace does not think his deck is a mid-range deck.
Yeah.
But in terms of what Michael is trying to do, like how he's trying to position his deck post-board, he wants this game to play out like a mid-range mirror. He basically just has to answer Brandon turn for turn to make sure Brandon doesn't get the tempo, doesn't get, again, creatures out, in play, attacking. And if he gets to that mid-game, he is a huge favorite. So, yeah, Michael Edgar wants this to be a mid-range battle.
You saw Brandon Wallace take a little yawn there. We're clocking in it's about 8:30 Central Time right now. And Brandon, I got news for you. You got a long way to go.
Yeah.
You got 2 more rounds of Magic. We could be here until midnight. Work our way into Sunday morning. So, fortunately for the players, and I suppose for us, we'll be doing the elimination rounds tomorrow morning. We'll start the quarterfinals tomorrow,
thankfully,
as opposed to tonight. But that's what happens when we get the turnout that we did. 778 here in Dallas. So 11 rounds of Magic. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a big turnout. Again, I called it the new normal. It's honestly, it doesn't really change the way tournaments play out in a practical sense. But prior to this, we had a lot of tournaments that were 10 rounds, but they were pushing up against the cut. They would be 700 even or 690 or whatever. And all that meant was that people got to 8-1 and then couldn't draw.
Yeah.
So really, you need the same number of wins to make top 8 of an 11-round open or a 10-round open.
This is a Dryad Militant, just a swamp from Edgar. So this is the kind of start that Wallace wants to have. Now, in a perfect world, he follows this up with some sort of creature. It can be a 1-drop, it can be a 2-drop, it's just got to be something. Preferably something that's not Dryad Militant because of Bile Blight, but besides that, and this is an untapped stomping ground.
So it looks like no Dryad Militant.
Yeah. And see, that's perfect.
Yeah. Could have been 3 Dryad Militants. That would have been ambitious.
Okay.
But Voice of Resurgence, the optimal 2-drop for sure. Voice of Resurgence, very good against Devour Flesh.
Yep.
That's the card that actually is being cast.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's actually just perfect.
Mm-hmm. Brandon Wallace moved to get rid of Dryad Militant and then sort of reconsidered.
I'm a little surprised that he's sacrificing that, not Voice.
Yeah, I am too. That's actually one of the the best tempo plays you can make in this deck is when you get an opportunity to sack Voice of Resurgence on 2 and then play another creature and
get him for 5?
Yeah, basically like turn Voice of Resurgence into Watch Wolf that trades for a card.
Yeah, because I mean, how much better is Voice going to get in this situation? I mean, he needs to have a follow-up play now. I don't know if he does have one. He did play a Temple and Scryed.
He has, looks like a pair of Charms.
Yeah, it looks like Boros and Selesnya.
Yeah. So that again gives him some range. Boros Charm is honestly not that great in this matchup. It is an answer to a removal spell, but yeah, you have to be in the right position to get a chance to use it because you want to be using your mana in the early turns to make threats.
Nightveil Spectre going to show up here for Edgar. Wallace is going to untap and take a draw. Now, we saw in the last game, Edgar had no interest in blocking on an attack like this.
Oh yeah, you can't block here.
Yeah.
Against this deck, which has 4 Selesnya Charm, 4 Gore-Clan Rampager, 4 Boros Charm, which in this case would enable a trade. There are many ways that Brandon can punish you.
Yeah, he had no interest last game blocking. He has no interest in this game blocking, so he goes down to 14. Wallace is going to go down to 15 from the stomping ground, coming to play untapped. The follow play is going to be a copy of Fleece Mane Lion and just pass the turn back here with the ability to cast either charm in his hand. So still a pretty good turn and a pretty good start.
And that last land is a temple, so he can't actually play it untapped and immediately monstrous the Fleece Mane. So I think his long-term game plan here is just going to be protect that lion until he can monstrous it.
A Mutavault is the play here from Edgar. He's got a Desecration Demon in his hand. You also see the copy of Hero's Downfall. There's another Devour Flesh hanging out over there as well. Again, if he's going to cast these removal spells, he has to cast them now because of the voice. And this might be part of the reason that actually Brandon did leave the voice around. It's because it forces these removal spells to be sorcery speed removal spells, which isn't so bad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Michael Edgar actually has a lot of options here, and it's really unclear how to advance. You have to basically consider Boros Charm is the big one. If he casts a removal spell into Boros Charm, he falls way behind. Yeah. But if he just casts Desecration Demon, he can also fall way behind, again, to that Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, and that could happen. It could also just get charmed, too. And now there is Desecration Demon. So I wonder if we're going to see Celestia Charm fire off. This isn't too surprising. Exile that thing. This allows him to untap. If he does draw a 5th land, he can make his Fleece Mane Lion indestructible.
And it looked like he did not.
Yeah, it looks like he picked up another copy of Voice Resurgence, which is actually still okay.
Yes.
Because he can attack for 5 here, put Edgar down to 9, which he'll do. He can play a Temple, scry, play another copy of Voice, and have Boros Charm available. So he's maximizing his mana all the way. Figure out what card he wants to find, if he's going to keep it on top or bottom. But even if he, maybe he finds something he doesn't want, puts it on the bottom, at least next turn, he has the ability to actually use all his mana for Monstrosity on the Fleece Mane Lion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is a fantastic position for Brandon. And actually, he has 2 of the same creature in play, which is ordinarily kind of a rough place to be against a deck with Bile Blight. But Voice of Resurgence, I think he's okay.
Yeah, this is the one time he doesn't care.
Yeah. If he gets to convert his 2 Voice of Resurgences into a pair of 3/3s that can eventually be 4/4s.
Yeah. Mana's going to be tapped here.
He's going to go for a main phase Hero's Downfall.
And he's going to go after the Fleece Mane Line. Now the question here is, do you save it?
You have to. Well, you don't have to, but I don't see why you wouldn't. That Fleece Mane Lion is definitely worth more to you alive than dead. Well, you're basically asking yourself, would you rather have this Fleece Mane Lion in play or the potential to dome Michael Edgar for 4 damage?
I think I would rather have the Fleece Mane Lion in play.
Yeah, I think so too. That's not... there are arguments for both. You also have to consider that Michael Edgar is unlikely to attack and is going to have 2 blockers next turn.
Yeah.
And I guess actually you also have to worry about something like Doomblade. You can give the Fleece Mane Lion, you make it indestructible for this turn, but you're going to have to untap, and it will not be indestructible again, and then you'll have to basically tap out to jam the monstrous.
That's cool. If he wants a Doomblade in response to my Monstrosity activation, then I get 2 creatures from the voices. Because the Doomblade would be on my turn. So
I guess that's fair.
Yeah, if that exchange happens, I couldn't be happier.
That is absolutely true. So, okay. But Brandon decides he would rather have presumably 4 damage.
So I guess we can put Edgar to Virtual 5 right now?
Yes.
Assuming that's the use that he's going to use for his Boros Charm, then we have to put Edgar to Virtual 5. This is going to be a pack rat now. Just pass the turn back. Not too surprising to see Nightfell Spectre actually hang back on defense.
He's going to hold on. Oh, he scried last turn.
Yeah. So the question was, did he like what he scried with?
Okay, and it looks like he okay.
Okay, yeah, he's got the 1-2 punch.
This makes way more sense now. Yeah.
Rampager plus double strike.
Yes. With that extra information, Boros Charm is worth way more as a...
This is going to be 6. It's going to be an attack for 12 with this voice.
Yeah, and it does not look like Michael has enough creatures to throw in front of it.
Yep.
Yeah, Brandon just shoves and shows.
Yep.
Just like, here's the thing, you're dead. Michael Edgar looks like he's going through the math to confirm, and he says, yes, I am in fact dead.
And what we know is what he knows, which is we're going to play a 3rd game here between Naya Aggro and Mono Black Devotion. Brandon Wallace able to tie things up. However, this is where things get difficult because this game is the first that Brandon Wallace is on the draw.
Yeah.
Against Mono Black.
Yes, and again, as I've said all match, what you need to do in this matchup is stick your creatures and never miss a chance to attack with them.
Yep.
And that gets much, much harder if you're matching Dryad Militant with Michael Edgar's 2-drop removal. Now, often you're doing that anyway in this matchup because you have so many temples, but you're guaranteed to do it now. You're never going to get 2 creatures out ahead of Devour Flesh, for example.
That's the big issue here. Is he's just going to be behind the 8 ball the entire time, and that's not a spot he wants to be in at all. So, I mean, we'll see how the draws end up breaking for each player here, but this is definitely going to be a tough spot where you want to really win game 1 of this matchup if you're on the play or the draw, just so that you have the opportunity to be on the play for game number 3. Especially when they're boarding in a card like Lifebane Zombie gets so much better on the play than on the draw, for example.
Yep.
That's when things get really scary.
Getting a chance to get out ahead of Brandon's 3-drop, whether it be Boros Reckoner, Brimaz, something like that.
Yep. And this is also kind of the thing that I like about the mono black devotion deck, as opposed to the black-red deck that Eric Froelich likes or the black-white mid-range deck, is that this deck, you can actually count on it, for the most part, to actually play its spells on time almost every single game because it only has 4 temples. Sure. And some versions only play 3. Whereas, the black-red or the black-white version, they've got the guild gates, they've got temples. So, I mean, we're looking at, they've got the Ravnica duels that they want to put into play tapped on occasion. We're looking at upwards of 10 lands that come into play tapped, or at least have the option to come into play tapped.
Yeah.
And, that means you don't get to play your spells on time. Like this game, we're going to probably see, something along the lines of, Thoughtseize into, 2-mana removal spell into Lifebane Zombie or something like that. And that's not out of the ordinary for them to do at all.
It is not. Well, what we are for sure going to see is Brandon Wallace suit up.
Dragon helmet.
Yeah, he is putting on his war gear.
Yeah. No more messing around. It's a Dragon's Helm. I'm not sure the equip cost on that card.
Your dignity, maybe?
Debatable.
Yeah,
debatable. It's expensive. Then, is what you're saying. It's expensive.
Yeah. No. Actually, the helmet is definitely working out for him, and I think he kind of looked over and said, "Well, I fell behind the game, and I think I know why."
I had my head in that helmet less than a half hour ago, and it barely fits his head, and my head is much larger than his.
Well, you should know what the equip cost was then. What did you pay to put it on?
I refuse to answer that question.
Okay.
I refuse. I plead the 5th.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you much.
Okay, equip cost 5.
I thought I was going to break it, but it held strong. It must be made out of some very nice paper.
Yeah, it looks sturdy, that's for sure.
It looks like it's a lot of work to build, too. I couldn't do that.
No, I definitely could not.
It's like a much more difficult Burger King crown to build. But I like it. I like his style. I like the view from there, too.
Yeah, I do as well.
I got to see some teeth.
It's kind of like it's also covering his eyes to some extent. It's like, the poker players who wear sunglasses or whatever.
Well, I wouldn't want to see a Thoughtseize turning my way.
No,
that's exactly what he's going to see. You see the Mortars, a Domri, a Dryad Militant, a Rampager, and then 3 lands, 2 of which can come into play untapped. One of them is a Temple of Plenty. Now Edgar has all the information, knows exactly what he's up against, what cards he has to try to play around, knows that Lifebane Zombie is pretty good in this situation. Nightfell Spectre is just okay because there's some Mortars hanging out, so.
Yeah, whatever his first threat is, it's going to die, but it's going to trade for a card and potentially a turn from Brandon Wallace. So here I'm expecting him to take either the Domri or the Dryad Militant.
Yeah.
If he does not have an immediate answer to Dryad Militant, then he might just try and take it because otherwise the Dryad Militant is going to deal at least 4, maybe 6 damage. But other than that, just taking that Domri and preventing him from...
Now, I was going to say, if he takes the Mortars, this means he probably has a pack rat hand.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Although, if he's leaning on pack rat here, he's actually still exposed to Domri. Brandon gets to play turn 2 Dryad, and then... Or no, he's not, right?
Yeah, he's on the draw.
Yeah, he can... Yeah. Okay.
So he has the time to actually make a rat in the meantime. Now, this Dryad Militant's actually going to lead off the show here, and chances of this living are pretty slim, but we'll see if it's a pack rat game or if it's something else here.
Yeah, I saw Bile Blight.
Okay.
And he's going to use that.
It's really fortunate that happens now as opposed to later, because Wallace's draw for the turn was Bile Blight. Or excuse me, his draw for the turn was a Dryad Militant.
Another Dryad Militant.
Yeah, so it's a good thing for Wallace that actually got main phased right now.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's you have to do that against a deck that has Boros Charm, Brave the Elements, and Celestial Charm.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Celestial Charm doesn't actually protect you.
Yeah, but you want to be in the habit. Yeah, you want to be in the habit of actually doing it in your main phase.
Mm-hmm.
Another creature that has to be killed in his main phase is a Voice of Resurgence, so that's going to come down.
Yeah.
This is a Mutavault. Edgar has not drawn a land yet. He does have Lifebane Zombie. He will see the Dryad Militant that has been picked up, along with the Gorklan Rampager he already knew about. Temple of Plenty and Domri still in the grip. So if you're Wallace, you're really hoping to draw an untapped land here, I think, in this situation. Play Domri and potentially just fight that Lifebane Zombie and get off the board.
Yeah, I think
so.
Resurgence. Yeah, if you uptick, you're protected for 1 turn from the Lifebane Zombie, but then you never get to use it again. You never get to use it in combat, and you basically get 2 free looks.
This is an attack for 2.
Want to trade? No. Says no.
Yeah, I think it's already attacking, so.
This is a free attack.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's a world where he blocks. Is he going to play the Temple? Wow.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised by that.
He had Dryad Militant. Did he find maybe another 2-drop or? No, just going to go with the Dryad.
Yeah, he picked up a Sacred Foundry for the turn, just passed the turn back. So he actually drew the untapped land, but chose not to drop down the Domri just yet. A Doomblade to draw here for Edgar. Has a Temple to play as well for his land.
Yeah, Brandon basically just decided he didn't like the spot that he would be in if he used Domri there. He would be left with a 1/1 elemental and a Domri at 1 loyalty, and Michael would have been able to activate the Mutavault and basically force a chump block for the elemental.
Sure.
Which is not a great spot.
It just depends on how much you value Domri, I think, in the matchup. There's a pretty good chance that I'm overvaluing its ability.
Yeah, possibly. But whether or not you want to keep Domri, obviously you prefer to it. But like, if you can trade Domri for something on board, that's good enough.
Yeah.
But that play leaves Brandon with actually no threats.
Yeah.
He can't attack with Domri. He can just hope to draw something that can attack.
Yeah. Doomblade going to take care of Dryad Militant. Take a draw here. It's another copy of Sacred Foundry. That Voice of Resurgence should be untapped and will be in just a moment. There we are. Unfortunately here for Wallace, and this is kind of how things go when you play against mono black, especially in the draw. He's been mostly exhausted here. He has a Sacred Foundry and a Domri to go along with his Voice Resurgence. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And basically he's going to make the same play that he declined to make last turn.
Yeah, there's a chance he might not fight. There's a chance he may go up. Yeah, and that's actually what he's going to do. There's a Fleece main line. Now, that card's actually pretty interesting in this particular game, just because there's the opportunity for that thing to go monstrous. Now, Voice Resurgence not attacking, I'm not in love with, because it doesn't get to stop Lifebane Zombie, and there's no guarantee that Mutavault's going to get active and try to finish off the Domri.
Sure. What you do here is you basically make Michael Edgar consider the possibility that he cannot get rid of Domri this turn.
Okay.
So, yeah, Michael can just attack with Lifebane, which kind of looks like he's what he's doing. I think Michael Edgar doesn't mind trading Mutavault with Voice of Resurgence, but that eats up his turn.
Sure. There's a Nightveil Spectre past the turn back, working his way towards a very large Gray Merchant yet again. Stomping around the draw here for Wallace. He's going to take a look with the Domri. This is a Voice of Resurgence.
2 free cards. That is something you need at this point. So it looks like he is going to commit those cards to the board, or at least the Fleece Main. Yeah, there we go.
I would have loved to seen an attack.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, prior to, well, to be fair, Michael Edgar knows every card in that hand except for one of the lands, I believe.
Get him. He doesn't know either land. He didn't know either land.
No, okay, yeah, he knew about the sacred or the
temple.
The temple.
Yeah, he didn't know about either land.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see an attacker, because here's the thing. If he blocks, that's cool. I get an elemental token, and I have a backup voice to actually put you in the, you have to actually cast your spells on your own turn hard lock still.
Yeah.
And if he does take 2, it's like, okay, I got 2 free points of damage. So it seems like it's win-win either way, because you're going to be left with either a 3/3 token or you got it for 2 points of damage, and you're still in this situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. And yeah, for that matter, against a board of Nightveil Spectre and Mutavault, the Lifebane Zombie kind of a wash here, but against those creatures in particular, you'd probably rather have a 3/3 elemental than a Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, I think so. Now you've got Nightveil Spectre, he can decide where it wants to go. Does it want to take care of Domri? Does it actually want to try to hit a card off the library and work its way towards that? Mm-hmm. And it looks like, yeah, this Nightveil's actually going to go towards Domri. Lifebane's going to go upstairs. Wallace is going to go down to 10. And a big Gray Merchant here would be for 7, but it looks like we're just going to see a main phase Doomblade take care of that. And he can actually really work his way towards a win next turn by just attacking with Lifebane Zombie for 3, puts you down to 7, and then drain you for the rest of it.
Yeah, he does expose himself in some degree to kind of the 1-2 punch, the Gore Clan Boros Charm thing. I don't think he's low enough, actually, but in conjunction with another card, it could be a problem.
And Boros Charm actually the draw here to go along with just a land, so we're not going to see the 1-2 punch that we did see in the last game, and now Wallace is trying to figure out exactly how to attack. Again, as you mentioned right from the top, it's all about being aggressive in this particular matchup for Wallace's side.
Yes.
He can't play this kind of maybe I'll do something, maybe I won't game that he's kind of playing right now, like that Voice of Resurgence being back on defense. Edgar going to attack here with both of his creatures. Going to trigger the Nightveil Spectre, take a look at the top card, and I think in just a moment, as he turns over as he turns over Sacred Foundry, he'll play a Mutavault, he'll cast a Gray Merchant, and it will be for lethal.
For enough. Yeah, it's odd that he chose, that Brandon chose to leave one Voice Resurgence back and then didn't block with it. If you're not blocking it, you should be attacking.
Well, it's just a little disjointed. Like, he obviously can't block Lifebane Zombie. His plan is, I'm going to, by leaving this back, I shut off Mutavault.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it shuts off Mutavault.
I forgot that he couldn't block. I was like, well, but
the plan is obviously to shut off Mutavault and don't allow that to attack, but Mutavault's not the problem.
Yes.
The problem is that Life Gain Zombie you can't block anyway, and you can't stop Nightveil.
The problem is you're on a 2-turn clock whether or not Mutavault gets in.
Yes. Yeah. So either way, Michael Edgar going to get the job done here. He defeats Brandon Wallace 2-1, Mono Black Devotion, doing what Mono Black Devotion does, which is destroying another standard tournament. He's our he's presumably our only 9-0 player. There is one more left out there.
Yeah,
so
there's actually I do not remember his name offhand, but it was at table 2. He was paired down with someone who was 8-0-1.
Okay.
7-0-1. So we will have Michael Edgar at 9-0 and one other player at either 9-0 or 8-0-1.
Someone's got to be the bad guy. And this particular weekend, it's Michael Edgar. The bad guy is the person who always destroys the Mono Black. Last weekend, it was Kevin Huang and Robert Burney. Mm-hmm. A lot of other weekends, it's Owen Turntenwald. But somebody's got to be the bad guy.
Yeah, Mono Black has been on a serious tear lately. It won both events last week.
Yep.
It won the Invitational the week before.
Yep.
It won the Grand Prix in
Beijing.
Beijing, yes.
Yeah, Yuya.
Yeah. So of the large standard tournaments that have taken place over the last 2 weeks, it has won 4 of the 5.
Yeah, since he broke serve. That was won by Esper. Mm-hmm. But that's about it. It's just it's the best deck. It's the best deck.
Oh, fine.
Look, I don't like it either. Okay, I don't like it either. It's the best deck, and it can be frustrating at times to play against, and even sometimes with. I know there are a lot of people who are just like, I don't want to play this deck, but it's the best deck. Mm-hmm. So